that you'll love, or call in and order yours for pickup. 352-245-2419. La Famiglia Pizzeria.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 24 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this morning. It's an interesting combination of topics that we have that we're going to talk about right now. On the phone is Gail Harris. She is an award-winning writer. She's a teacher of the intuitive process. I mean, right there, you could spend some time talking about that, right? It's a fascinating thing. She's also the parent of an adopted child, and she's a contributor to magazines and parenting blogs. And she's also talking about a book called Finding Zoe, a deaf woman's story of identity, love, and adoption, co-written by Brandy Raris, if I'm saying her name right, who lost her hearing at the age of 6. So there's a whole other topic right there that we could focus on, the loss of hearing. So let's just go to Gail and say hi, and then we'll take it from there. Good morning, Gail. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Larry. Thank you so much for having me on.
Does your intuition tell you that this is going to be a great interview?
Yes, it does.
You know, sometimes that is funny that you say that, because sometimes I have an intuition about whether an interview will go well or not. Sometimes you just kind of know. Not usually from the prep material, but like the first few sentences from the guest.
Well, that just goes to show really how our intuition works. You know, we all have it, and I think that we use it so much more than we really think we do. You know, and that's just a perfect example. That so let me ask you a question. So when you, did you ever have a sort of a gut feeling or intuition that it isn't going to go well? Do you do it a little differently, or how does your intuition guide you? I know you should be asking me the questions, but
it's okay.
An incredible topic.
That's okay. Well, I kind of gave you an opportunity to ask that question. It wasn't my intent, but I'll be honest with you. My how do I say this? My hope is that the listeners take something away from every interview. So if it's good or not good, I try to still extract from the guest, which we're going to do. We're going to extract from you something so that
that's using your intuition. That's a perfect example to give your listeners right there. It's brilliant.
So let's take this. We'll come back to the intuition, but use it as a way to bridge over to the deaf part of the story. When Robin and I used to do musical shows for children, and we were playing at one school, and there was a whole section of children in the front that were deaf.
Yes.
And our whole thing is audio. I mean, we're making music, we're singing songs, there are words, and there's a lady teacher in the front of these children, and she's doing sign language. And they were enjoying themselves. And I said, wow, they're enjoying it, but they don't really hear the music, you know? Mm-hmm. So, but there must be something intuitive in that regard, too, about how, I guess, to basically embrace whatever it is that you're a part of.
Well, I think that our intuition, there's a different kind of listening. I'm not deaf, and my co-author, Brandy Raris, you mentioned her name, she is deaf. She's a former Miss Deaf America, and the story is about her journey to self-acceptance through listening to her intuition and to finding her daughter, who she adopted, who's also deaf. So I can't really speak to the fact of what it's like being deaf. I've done a lot of research, in order to be able to write the book.
Right.
But I do know that sort of linking it to our intuition, that when we listen to our intuition, it's sort of like an inner listening. You know what I'm saying? It's like we in order to hear our intuition, we have to be able to tune out the outside world so we can hear that our own truth coming to us.
Where do you think it comes from?
That certainly applies to deaf people as well. I mean, deaf people don't hear anything outside, but they certainly can hear their intuition. And I think with something like music, well, I do know that deaf people can hear, many deaf people can pick up a beat. Some people can feel that beat more than other people. I think it has to do with how deaf that you are, but they can certainly feel the enjoyment, the joy that's happening in the room. And I think that that's probably what you're addressing, and that is absolutely picked up by our senses, by our intuition, as opposed to, say, our intellect.
Do you think our...
That answers your question at all.
I get what you're saying. Do you think our intuition becomes watered down as we get older because we start depending on, in today's day and age, Google or experts? Do you think sometimes we would be better off and more focused on our own intuition if we would just kind of just remove ourselves from some of those other influences?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why we really have to we really have to want to listen to our intuition, and we have to make it a priority in our life. People ask me all the time, what can we do to better tune into our intuition? And it's exactly what you said. There are so many distractions, social media, the internet, and all those things distract us from hearing our own inner voice. But you have to make a commitment. In other words, you have to really want to do it, because if you don't, if it's not like super, super important to you, then it's really doomed before you take the vow, because you're going to get distracted. So you have to want it. That's what my main message is. You have to, and why would you want it? We have to get into that also. I mean, what kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to live the kind of life where you're doing what other people tell you to do, rather than listening to your own inner knowing? Because our intuition guides us to get the things in life that we need. There's a difference between what we want and what we need. And outside is what we want. People are telling us, you should do this, you should do that. But what we truly need comes from within.
I think you're right. And so many times we know that it's there and we feel that it's there, but we say, gosh, I can't do that because somebody else is depending on me. Let's say your intuition says, you know what I should do? I should move to another city. There's a better job over there. But I can't do that. I got grandma here. I got other people. Doesn't that get in the way too?
Yes, well, that is life. That's how it works, and that's why following our intuition, it's a moment by moment practice. So, I mean, there are two things I could say about what you said. One is that those outside forces are going to come in, and that's where trust is so important. We have to be able to trust our intuition, and that's not an easy thing to do, and that takes, taking it in baby steps, trust it once and see that, oh, gee, it led us in the right place, and then trust it again, and that happens over time, which shows, again, why you really have to make it a priority in your life, and
but that trust, but that trust, has to come from being afraid, because you can't, people are afraid to change, or they're afraid to take the next step because of the repercussions.
You're right, and from every challenge, in other words, what you're saying is absolutely right, that we can't learn to trust without having that difficulty to trust about. You're absolutely right, and that's what life is. And I'll tell you my secret, what I discovered. Trust is this big word, trust with a capital T, but for me, the big secret that I've learned to trusting myself and trusting my intuition is not about making this like global statement, like from now on I'm going to trust, and in 20 years from now I'm going to trust. It's about taking it every moment at each decision that you have to make. Don't start worrying about what's going to happen in 20 years from now. Just worry about right now. What do I have to do right now? Maybe I'm supposed to move to this other state, and then the thought comes in, oh, yeah, but my grandmother's here, or whatever it is. You get quiet and let your intuition guide you in that moment, and maybe it will say to you, I'm just making it up.
No, but that makes sense. And that's great guidance, what you're telling people, because I believe you're right on target with that. Do you know the one thing that I often wonder about, and what is your thought on this, when somebody says they are intuitive and therefore they can tell you about you, I always thought intuition was something you have about yourself, not something that I can charge people for. I'm an intuitive. Come and see me because I can tell you about you.
Right.
Am I wrong about that?
No, you're absolutely right about that. Here I am, right, and I'm talking about intuition. And I come on as an expert, right? But we're all beginners. I would never sit here and tell anybody what I think that their intuition should tell them, even that anybody should believe what I'm saying. That's between them and their intuition. I'm here really to share some of my experiences and what I've learned, because our intuition is about our relationship with ourselves. And you can get like an intuition about somebody else. Like you gave that example before. You might have a feeling that, oh, I think this interview is going to go well, or you know, whatever it is. But that's between you and your intuition. You know, I mean, it's about knowing what to do in the moment, and our intuition mostly guides us. I think this is this distinction. We could have a sense about somebody else, and chances are we'll be right on because our intuition is very perceptive. However, our intuition will guide us with how to respond to the situation. It's all about the self. It's about our relationship with ourself and our life unfolding according to our highest potential. Does that make sense? Because, you know, this intuition business is not an easy thing to talk about.
Right. You know? No, it's not. And it's kind of hard to grasp because we don't, I guess we'll never know. We can speculate, but we'll never know whether intuition is completely internal, if it's affected by experiences or education, or if it comes from God or some kind of a spirit. It's kind of hard to know. Have you ever tapped into intuition? How do I ask this question? In almost a philosophical way, like let's say something horrible happened and your intuition says, well, this was actually what God wanted or what the universe wanted or something. Do you ever do that?
Yes, all the time. As a matter of fact, that's what Finding Zoe is about, this book. It's, you know, intuition is about, like, it tells us, it's a way of looking at the light. It's a way of looking at life. And in this particular story, there was a lot of heartache and judgment and blame because the little girl Zoe, Brandy's daughter, who she adopted, was in 4 different homes by the time she was 8 months old. And there was a lot of heartache, and there was a lot of judgment and a lot of difficulty. And as the author, you know, as the writer of this book, I had a choice of how I wanted to tell this story. And just because of my own spiritual practices and what I believe about intuition and what intuition has taught me, I told this story through what I call the lens of perfection, meaning that everything had to happen exactly as it did in just the right time for all the pieces of this very difficult story to come together so perfectly. And I wrote the book this way because it really gives an example of taking that lens of perfection, of trusting that there is a higher purpose, you know, or there is a goodness in life, which I believe. I believe that our intuition, for me, it's a spiritual thing, and it's a way of looking at life so that you can look at how our needs truly are being taken care of, even when it's difficult, even at the time when we don't think that it is, because it's so difficult. When we take a step back and look at it, we can see that, and this is my personal belief, that we're being guided by, that there's a goodness to this life, and you know, there's an order to this life, and it's a good order. It's a crazy life, but there's a good order that's guiding us, and our intuition helps us to see that.
And I've often thought, when we look back on our lives, we love doing that because we know how each one of those chapters ends, and it's not so scary as looking forward when you don't know how it ends. But looking backwards is almost like a lesson, like, hold on, why are you so worried about the future? Everything before now, if it didn't turn out completely okay, at least you could see that there was somehow a reason for it. Right.
And that's the definition of trust. You know, to me, when I talked about this good order in life, I've heard this expressed, you may have even said it before, Larry, that things happen for a reason or things are meant to be. And I like to quote Mick Jagger, who says you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need. And I
you got to push out your lips. When you say that, you got to push out your lips. Did you hear me, Gail?
I'm sorry?
I said you have to push out your lips.
I think that our intuition, but it's so true. And I just bless Mick Jagger because he gave me such a good, like, line to use to really express my deepest feelings.
It is
about
a great line, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Because I think so many times we want what we want, you know, but is what we want really what's called for in this situation? Is it really going to lead us in the best direction? And for me, our intuition is really about learning to know the difference between what we want and what we need, which it isn't, you know, maybe simple, but it isn't always easy, you know.
Oh, I love the way you said that. Gail, can I ask you to hang on just for a little bit? We have to catch up on the weather and a few commercials, and we'll be right back, okay?
Sure.
I knew. Sure. My intuition told me this was going to be a great interview.
That's right.
The only thing is it's never long enough or when they're good. Okay, Gail, hold on and we'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sunshine mixed with some clouds today. Stray thunderstorm in the afternoon. High of 89 to 95. Turns out clear tonight, a low 71 to 74. Tomorrow and Wednesday, sunny to partly cloudy. Thunderstorm in the afternoons. High of 89 to 96 both days. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Maggie Johnson.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
Central Florida Eye Institute is the area's leader in laser vision correction. From high-definition refraction surgery and LASIK vision correction to custom cataract, glaucoma, and diabetic treatment, you can count on Dr. Crowley and his effective, friendly staff to provide you with the quality care you deserve. Call 352-237-8400 for an appointment or more information. That number again is 352-237-8400. Looking forward to service your vision needs.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
Fidgeting can make it easier to lose weight. Many couples think that once they're married, all their issues with in-laws will disappear, but Steinhardt says a marriage magnifies these problems, so if you're having family clashes with potential in-laws, it's best to resolve those issues before you get married. Just like couples can take out a loan for a house or a new car, there's been a huge surge in loan companies catering to wannabe parents.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
Check this out.
New shows? Check. Check. Some new talent? Check. The same great sports talk?
I'm seeing it right now.
Wrong.
Wrong again? Wrong.
It's better.
There are so many great things going on in sports.
We gotta get it. From our mics.
Test.
To your ears.
The latest update we got is
awesome.
All right, 6 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this morning. Gail Harris is on the phone. I just went to her website, gailharrisauthor.com. You can see some more of her things, including her blog called White Bread Wisdom, which she's got her monogrammed pieces of toast on there. Yeah. My favorite kind of toast is monogrammed. And the book that we're talking about is just one, apparently, of books she has written. This one is called Finding Zoe, a deaf woman's story of identity, love, and adoption. Co-written by Brandy Raris, who happens to be a deaf lady. Gail, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Have we been fair to the book, or do we need to? We need to make sure we let the listeners know what the book is about. Who is Zoe?
Zoe is Brandy Raris, who is, you said, my co-author, and she is a former Miss Deaf America. And the story is her memoir about her journey to self-acceptance and to also finding her daughter by trusting her intuition. And her daughter is Zoe. And through Brandy's story and Zoe's story, I just wanted to say that the book takes a look at issues that we can all relate to, such as finding our place in the world and fitting in, being judged and judging others and judging ourselves so harshly, and then moving past all that so that we can fill our dreams in life like Brandy did. She had always yearned for a daughter and had given birth to three boys. And what she went through to have a daughter is just, it's just unbelievable, you know, and the story is so inspirational to show, really, I think is such a good example of how, you know, to really be true to the things in life that are yearnings in life and things that we really believe belong to us, and that the way that we can get them is through trusting ourselves, which is one and the same as trusting our own intuition.
So
that's how we do it, folks.
when you come together with another person, as you came together with Brandy, it's not just simply a business relationship. It sounds like you bonded. It sounds like there was something else to it. That's almost intuitive. Maybe that's not the exact right word there, but sometimes when we connect with people and we look back on our lives and see what that relationship meant for us, it's almost like, wow, isn't it amazing that I met that person at that time? And did that same thing happen for you?
Wow. I have the chills because you are very intuitive, because nobody told you to ask that, but you just picked up, because it's one of the things that I wanted to share. It's not only about what the story is about, which is about people following their intuition during very difficult circumstances, and the miracle that happened as a result with Zoe going through 4 different homes. She could have so easily ended up in the foster care system, but she found the perfect home to her. But in addition, writing this book was one of the most profound experiences of my life as a result of following my intuition. You know, when Brandy and I first started working together, she told me 2 things. You know, well, she knew that there was a lot of heartache, but she also knew her intuition told her that something extraordinary had to happen for Zoe to go to this perfect home. And, you know, she found the perfect writer, like how we came together, because, as I said before, I love telling stories through what I call the lens of perfection. And in this case, how everything had to happen exactly as it did in just the right time for all the pieces of the story to fit together so perfectly. And when Brandy and I began our work, she told me 2 things. She said she didn't see herself being in the book at all, and she didn't think that the fact that she and Zoe were both deaf was integral to the story. And right away, my intuition, like ding, 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 you know, I just had this strong sense that she was mistaken about that. And when I began interviewing her and realized the major role that she played in deaf history, and also just the shocking story of deaf history in itself that I never knew as a hearing person, you know, until I did the research to write the book, it became so clear to me that not only was the fact that Brandy and Zoe both deaf integral to the story, but it needed to be the focal point. And I told Brandy point blank, I said, this book needs to be your memoir with the adoption story folded into that.
That's true. Yeah, I can see that too.
Of the story.
Yeah, if I was the little guy on your shoulder, I would have said, yeah, that's exactly what you got to do. That makes more sense to me. I mean, I love human interest things. I love biographies because I think a biography reveals something about the magic of life. There's something about the magic of life. There are 2 types of biographies in my mind. The one that gives credit to God or to a supreme being, and the one that just makes it seem like it was all their doing. And I think our lives are a combination of the 2. You know, we
exactly. And this story is just such a true testament to it. I mean, the story is, it is just bigger than life, because it's exactly combines what you both said. I mean, Brandy had to trust her intuition, and all the people involved. Zoe had 4 parents before she found her true parents, and they all decided to let her go.
We have to go, Gail. Well, I have loved this. I have loved this conversation. I'm so sorry.
I know.
I see. This is how you gauge whether it's a great interview or not. When it's ending and you wished it wasn't, and so we have no choice.
Me too.
All right. So go to GailHarrisAuthor.com. That's where I went. There are 2 books that you'll see on there: Your Heart Knows the Answer, which we didn't even talk about, and Finding Zoe. And anything else we should tell the listeners before we say goodbye?
Yeah, I just wanted to also mention that I'd love to follow people on Twitter, and if you'd like to follow me too, my Twitter handle is @GailHarris_.
Okay, @GailHarris_. I will do that right away.
Likewise.
Why is there an underscore after your name?
Well, I don't know. I know.
Why is there an underscore after your name?
I know.
Why is there an underscore after your name? There was another one?
Well, I couldn't get at Gail Harris, so I did at Gail Harris _
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Gail, thank you so much for being on the air with us today. Definitely welcome back anytime.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, we will be back in just a little bit. You're listening to The Source, WOCA. Again, just in case you just didn't catch it, the website is GailHarrisAuthor.com. We'll be right back. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
We could use a bunch of fancy scientific studies to explain how Seafoam cleans your engine and improves performance. But recent scientific studies show that scientific studies are boring. So here's something that's not. Seafoam motor treatment now at Napa for only $7.99. At just $7.99 for Seafoam, you don't need science to tell you that's awesome. Conquer the job with Napa Know-How. At participating Napa Auto Parts stores, 16-ounce can. Offer expires 6/30/15.